On January 3, 2020, the United States assassinated one of Iran's most powerful military generals on foreign soil. No declaration of war, no congressional vote, no public debate, just a drone strike and a press release. The internet exploded. Every news channel, every podcast, every tweet, wall-to-wall Iran coverage. Generals were being wheeled out on CNN. Politicians were giving solemn press conferences. Think tanks were publishing 10-page threat assessments overnight. And quietly, almost invisibly, a federal judge sealed another batch of Epstein documents. Coincidence? Maybe. But this isn't the first time a geopolitical crisis and an Epstein disclosure landed in the same news cycle, and it won't be the last. This is the story of how war became the most powerful PR tool ever invented, how billionaires, politicians, and intelligence agencies have figured out that nothing clears the front page faster than the threat of bombs, and how the people who should be on trial are currently on television telling you to be afraid of Iran. Let's make sure we're all on the same page first. Jeffrey Epstein was not just a predator, he was a networked predator. A man who for decades collected the most powerful people on Earth, politicians, royals, tech billionaires, intelligence figures, and connected them to something so dark, so organized, that even after his death in 2019, the full client list still doesn't exist in the public domain. Think about that. The man is dead. His associate, Maxwell, is sitting in a federal prison serving 20 years. The FBI has raided his island. Prosecutors have mountains of evidence. There are flight logs, there are photographs, there are witness testimonies from multiple countries spanning multiple decades. And yet, the names? The full, unredacted, unexcused list of every person who flew on that plane, visited that island, and participated in what federal prosecutors called a sex trafficking operation, that list doesn't fully exist in public view. Why? Because the people on it are not ordinary people. Maxwell's trial in 2021 lasted weeks. Witness after witness described what happened on that island, in those houses, across multiple countries. Victims gave devastating testimony. Maxwell was convicted on 5 of 6 counts, but the buyers, the clients, the demand side of this operation, protected. Some names have trickled out through civil suits and document releases. Princes, billionaires, a former US president, a current one at the time, cabinet members, intelligence directors, men whose names you would recognize immediately, men whose foundations you have probably donated to, men whose companies you use every single day. And every single time a court date approaches, every single time a document release is scheduled, every single time the pressure builds, something happens in the world. Something loud, something terrifying, something that makes Iran the story instead. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not going to tell you that every war is fake or that every crisis is manufactured. That would be stupid and dishonest. And frankly, it would give the people I'm talking about an easy way to dismiss everything I'm about to say. What I am going to do is show you the timeline and let the numbers speak. January 2020, the Soleimani assassination. The world is on the edge of World War III. Iran fires missiles at US bases. Americans are stress-refreshing Twitter at 3 a.m. waiting for retaliation. That same week, a federal judge in New York denies a motion to unseal additional Epstein-related documents. The story gets buried under 48 hours of Iran coverage. But this goes further back. August 2019, Epstein is found dead in his cell. 2 cameras outside his unit malfunction simultaneously. The guard assigned to check on him falls asleep. The official cause of death is suicide by hanging. The medical examiner hired privately by Epstein's brother concludes it was homicide. And within 72 hours of his death, the news cycle is dominated by 2 mass shootings in El Paso and Dayton. Horrific tragedies. Real, devastating events. But the timing meant that Epstein's death, the circumstances of it, the questions about how a man on suicide watch in a federal facility managed to die, all of that got a fraction of the scrutiny it deserved. 2021, Maxwell's trial begins. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is escalating rhetoric around Iran's nuclear program. Tensions with China over Taiwan reach their highest point in years. European energy markets are being destabilized. 2023. More Epstein documents are ordered released by a federal judge. That same month, Iranian proxy groups attack US military positions in Syria and Iraq. Washington goes into crisis mode. The documents get 3 paragraphs on page 6. Pick any moment where elite accountability should dominate the headlines. Then look at what else happened that week. The pattern is not perfect, it never is, but it is consistent. And consistency, when you're talking about the most powerful people on Earth, is not an accident. Here's something most people don't understand about modern geopolitics. War is not just a military event, it is a media event. When tensions escalate with Iran, or Russia, or North Korea, or whoever the villain of the quarter is, the entire apparatus of the Western media ecosystem goes into crisis mode. Cable news ratings spike 40, 50, sometimes 60%. Social media algorithm engagement doubles. Everyone is glued to updates. Doomscrolling becomes a civic duty, and in that attention vacuum, everything else disappears. This isn't speculation. This is a documented media phenomenon called rally around the flag. It's been studied by political scientists for decades. In times of external threat, the public instinctively unifies. Criticism of leadership drops. Scrutiny of domestic issues, including elite crime, collapses. Approval ratings go up during wars. Investigative journalism gets defunded during wars. Whistleblowers get prosecuted during wars. And the people who benefit from all of that, they know it. The same people who profit from war are advising on when to start one. Does that not strike you as a problem? And then layer on top of that the Epstein dimension. Because Epstein's network wasn't just about sex, it was about leverage. It was about having information on powerful people, compromising, career-ending, freedom-threatening information, and using that information to build influence, to open doors, to make problems go away. Intelligence agencies do this. It has a name. It's called a honeypot operation. Multiple former intelligence officials, speaking on background to journalists, have suggested that Epstein's operation had the hallmarks of exactly that. A private intelligence gathering operation, potentially run with the knowledge, or the active participation, of one or more Western intelligence services. The question of which intelligence agency, or agencies, has never been fully answered. Former Israeli intelligence figures have been named in connection with his network. So have figures connected to the CIA. So have private security contractors whose client lists read like a who's who of the global elite. But ask yourself, if you were sitting on a server full of evidence linking the most powerful men in the world to a trafficking operation, and that evidence was slowly making its way through the court system, what would be the most effective way to keep the public distracted? Now let's talk about the money, because at the end of every crisis, you have to follow who benefits financially. The ongoing Iran-America tension is not just a political story, it's an economic architecture. Every round of sanctions, every military escalation, every threatened naval confrontation in the Strait of Hormuz, these events move oil prices, defense stocks, and currency markets in very predictable ways. And the people with the capital to position ahead of those moves? Billionaires. Not retail investors refreshing Robinhood. The kind of capital that moves through sovereign wealth funds, private equity structures, and opaque shell companies registered in jurisdictions you've never heard of. The kind of capital that doesn't need Bloomberg alerts because it already knows what's coming. The same jurisdictions, incidentally, where some of Epstein's financial transactions were routed. The same jurisdictions where the Maxwells, Bransons, and various unnamed co-conspirators moved money for decades. We live in a world where the obscenely wealthy have two great tools of power: geopolitical distraction and legal delay. Geopolitical distraction keeps the public occupied. Legal delay keeps the courts occupied. And between the two, real accountability almost never arrives. Look at how long it took to even charge Maxwell. Over a year after Epstein died. Look at how many times document releases were delayed, how many times hearings were postponed, how many times John Doe names were protected by judges citing privacy concerns for alleged perpetrators while victims waited years for justice. Look at how many civil suits were settled quietly, with non-disclosure agreements, with sealed records, with confidential terms. These are not the mechanics of a justice system working as intended. These are the mechanics of a justice system that has been quietly, carefully, expensively managed. The system does not move slowly by accident. It moves slowly because slow movement serves powerful interests. Here's the core thesis of this video, and I want to be as precise as possible. I am not saying the Iran-America conflict was invented to cover up Epstein. I am saying something more uncomfortable than that. I am saying that the people most threatened by Epstein's files are the same class of people who have the ability to accelerate, escalate, or trigger geopolitical crises. And I am saying that they have every incentive to ensure that whenever the heat around those files builds, something else fills the front page. That might be an escalation they encourage, a provocation they don't discourage, a piece of intelligence they choose to act on when they could have waited, a diplomatic back channel they choose not to use, a carefully timed leak to a defense reporter about an Iranian weapons program, a satellite image released to the press at a very specific moment. These are not dramatic movie villain moves. They are quiet, boring, bureaucratic choices made by people in very expensive suits in very secure buildings. And the cumulative effect of those choices is that the American public has spent the last 6 years more focused on Iran, more focused on war, more focused on geopolitical fear than on the question of which billionaires and politicians were raping children on a private island. That is the scam. Not a conspiracy in the shadow government, tinfoil hat sense. A conspiracy in the most literal, legal sense of the word. A coordination of interests among powerful people to prevent accountability. The kind of coordination that doesn't require a secret meeting, that doesn't require a signed agreement, that just requires powerful people to understand, without ever saying it out loud, that their collective survival depends on the public never truly focusing on what happened in those houses, on that island, on that plane. Because we let it. That sounds harsh, but it's true. Every time a war scare dominates the algorithm, we engage with it, we share it, we argue about it, we doom scroll, we pick sides, Team America, Team Iran, Team whatever, and we fight each other in comment sections while the people who should be in courtrooms are giving keynotes at private equity conferences in the Swiss Alps. And the engagement signals to every platform that this content is what we want, so it gets more of it. More threat assessments, more retired generals, more breaking news banners, more manufactured urgency about a conflict that has been simmering for 40 years and will still be simmering 40 years from now. Meanwhile, the Epstein documents sit in federal vaults. Maxwell serves her sentence in a minimum security facility with a tennis court. The unnamed co-conspirators continue to attend Davos and give TED Talks and fund political candidates and get invited to state dinners, and the cycle continues. There is a version of this story that ends differently, where the documents are fully released, where the names are fully published, where the coordination between elite networks and intelligence agencies is dragged into daylight and examined properly by journalists, prosecutors, and a public that refuses to look away. But that ending requires people to stay focused, to not let every manufactured crisis reset the public's attention span back to zero, to treat what happened on that island as at least as important as what happens if Iran builds a nuclear weapon. Because here's the thing about Iran, and I say this as someone who has no love for any warmongering regime, American, Iranian, or otherwise, a nuclear Iran is a problem that plays out over decades, negotiated by diplomats, managed by intelligence agencies, deterred by geopolitical balance. It is a slow-moving, complicated, institutional problem that powerful people are very well paid to handle. The Epstein files are a problem that names names, right now. People who are alive, people who are powerful, people who are making decisions that affect your life today, deciding which wars to fund, which laws to pass, which stories to kill, which judges to appoint. Which one do you think the powerful would rather you focus on? The war is real. The threat is real. The geopolitical tension is real. But real threats can still be used as distractions. Real crises can still be timed, shaped, and amplified to serve private interests. And a public that is permanently afraid is a public that is permanently manageable. That's not a theory, that's a business model. The question was never whether any of this was happening. The question is whether you're paying attention to what isn't being covered while it does. Whether you can hold two thoughts at once. Yes, the world is dangerous, and the people telling you to be afraid might have a very specific reason for wanting you scared right now. Stay focused. Question the timing. The files are still out there.